Well, it's the beginning of a new fresh year and a new fresh start for coin collectors all over the world. I would like to wish you a very, very happy 2023. And I thought we'd start the year off by talking about sovereigns. What is it about sovereigns that is worth talking about? Well, they have a history that goes back a long, long time, at the very least to 1817. So there are literally hundreds of years of potential coins to collect in this range. A few years ago, when I first started collecting bullion, everybody warned me off sovereigns, all the coin writers. Well, you don't want to touch sovereigns because they're not an exact quarter of an ounce of gold. They're a little bit under, just makes them a little bit more difficult to focus on and collect. And after about 10 years more experience, I can tell you that that was really bum advice. And anyone who talks in that way probably doesn't deserve to be listened to. From what I can see, looking at the coin market, at least over here in the UK, and some of this may not apply to other places that you guys may be listening from. The sovereign market is actually in a rude state of health and thriving, with more people collecting gold sovereigns than ever before. And I think for a variety of reasons, many of which I'll go into in this video. For those of you expecting me to talk about some of the coins that are on screen at the moment, you're going to be out of luck on that, I'm afraid, because I'm just using some of these beautiful coins as a backdrop to the things that I want to tell you about sovereigns, the things that I've learned over the last few years. Maybe let's start this by talking about why sovereigns. So why sovereigns? I mean, you've got a small amount of gold, quarter of an ounce, just a little bit under a quarter of an ounce of gold, and sovereigns have been around a long time, which means that there are millions and millions of them that have been minted over the years that are available, and yet sovereigns somehow manage to capture the imagination of collectors. I think that one of the reasons they manage to capture the imagination of collectors is because you've got a number of people who like buying gold bullion, and sovereigns are some of the lowest margin gold bullion coins. You've got another group of collectors who strive for quality and rarity. You've got another group of collectors who like buying brand new sovereigns. And all of those different people are catered for when it comes to the sovereign market. One of the reasons that I first started becoming involved a few years ago in this market is because I found that sovereigns were a great way to build up and preserve wealth, because they weren't the most expensive gold coin in the world. They were low margin. They were available from pretty much everywhere, from high street bullion dealers, pawnbrokers, collectors, eBay. Every country in the world, they're pretty much generally available. They are very liquid in terms of being able to change them back into cash with quite a low percentage trading margin, so that the effective cost of dealing was pretty much as small as any other gold coin, but not so liquid that you end up spending your wealth too easily on other frivolous things. So it's a really, really good way of putting in money, a little bit like buying a stock and pound cost averaging, a little bit like buying a stock every single month. Put a little bit of your wages, your salary into a gold sovereign, and over a period of 3 or 4 years, you will actually end up with quite a significant amount of capital that can then be used for buying more coins or liquidated for other things like putting a down payment on a little piece of real estate, depending on how much you've been successful in saving up over that time. And then you've got another big group of collectors who frown upon people who just collect sovereigns for bullion, just for its pure gold content. And those collectors have an entirely different need that is satisfied. So they are looking for rare versions of sovereigns in very good condition. And my experience is that there have been more and more and more of those coming into the market over the last 5 or 6 years. Whereas if you bought maybe 50 or 100 sovereigns, you would have a proportion of them that were in very good collectible condition. Now everyone is definitely going through all of those bullion coins and seeing which of those bullion coins could be elevated to collector coins. And what makes a collector coin in the world of sovereigns? And again, we are all incredibly privileged really to have so many different attributes that sovereigns have that make them collectible. So for some people, a sovereign that is a proof coin with a very special strike using polished dies, that can be a collector version. For other people, it can be shieldback sovereigns, which were produced alongside St. George sovereigns in Victorian times in small quantities, and a lot of those can be collectible. For other people, they're looking at mint marks. So for every sovereign they get, they're looking to see, was it produced in London, in Pretoria, in Melbourne, in Sydney, in Bombay, in Canada, in Ottawa. And those mint marks can add intrigue and value to sovereigns. For other people, the only thing they look at is condition. And for them, they want to make sure that the coin that they collect is as uncirculated as possible. Yet other sovereign collectors will look for rarities. So they'll buy the Marsh Gold Sovereign book, now edited by Token Publishing. You can buy a brand new version of that with a lot of updated information, edited by Steve Hill. That's a great book to start off collecting sovereigns. And in that, there will be a note against every single sovereign, whether or not it's scarce or rare, or if it is rare, how rare it is on a scale of maybe rare 1 to, or rare 2 to rare 8, depending on how many are known. And from that, a lot of people then develop an interest and build collections of rare sovereigns. And if you look at the market for those kind of coins over the last 5 or 6 years, there's been quite a big price growth in those rarities, both in condition and in terms of the R value of them as well. For many of the older sovereigns, particularly in the Victorian era, the way they minted sovereigns and the way they produced dies caused a whole load of different varieties. One of the most famous of those is the 1862 shieldback sovereign with an R over an inverted R, which is extremely difficult to find. But there are quite a number of similar kind of sovereigns. There are ones that could either be Roman in concept or Arabic in concept. There are some letters that were used to punch them that were maybe not quite right. You've got double dies, double dates. Lots of people who collect those kind of varieties of sovereigns, and a lot of those have done very well over the last few years as well. Let's spend the last few minutes of this video summing up to maybe discuss some of the things that you could look for right now that may be good in the future. One of those things is the sovereign sets that have been produced over the last few weeks to commemorate the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, a memorial sovereign set with the with the new crest on the front for Charles, and I think that's going to be a really good coin over a number of years. Then you've got last year's 2022 regular sovereign, which was a special year, I think, which will also, it's already doing very well in the secondary market, and that will continue to do pretty well as well. The other ones that I would look for are some of the India mint sovereigns that were produced between 2013 and 2020. There's quite a few people starting to collect those. And also there's a number of coins that are called celebration sovereigns that are produced every now and again to commemorate special events. So they've been produced for the last 10 years on and off, but the ones from 2017 onwards are a little bit more desirable because the coins themselves are discrete varieties and as such are slightly more widely collected. So best thing to do to start is always to read books, participate in the forums. There are 2 or 3 forums online that specialise in sovereigns. The Numistacker forum is a really, really good place to learn about sovereigns. There's lots of people on that forum who collect them and can help and advise. But just to learn as much as you can and then dip in, and if you haven't got any sovereigns in your collection, to then take that first step and buy a sovereign and look at it and learn about it, and then hopefully a month or 2 later save up a little bit more money, buy another one. So wishing you all Happy New Year once more. Hope you found this video useful as a little bit of a kind of starter if you haven't really started collecting sovereigns yet and learning about some of the different attributes of them. If you don't already subscribe to the Numistacker channel, please click the button, click the notify button, and get advised every time there is a new Numistacker video released. Wishing you all a very Happy New Year, and onward to the next one.